This recipe for a chocolate icebox cake goes back to the 1930s when refrigerators were still called iceboxes. My New England grandmother passed her recipe on to my mother when my parents married because this was my father's favorite birthday dessert, and it soon became a family favorite, but only made for very special occasions. Made with lady fingers, semi-sweet chocolate, and whipped cream, this no-bake dessert is so easy to make. To make my family's chocolate icebox cake, you'll need 2 to 3 dozen ladyfingers, 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 3 eggs separated, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of granulated sugar, 1 cup of heavy cream, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Also need a 9-inch springform pan. This recipe is not baked or cooked, but you do need to melt your chocolate on the stove over in a double boiler. So let's get this chocolate started while we separate our eggs. Starting with your eggs at room temperature, want to separate them using the French method with an impeccably clean hand. So while our chocolate is melting nicely on the stove, I'm lining our spring mold pan with ladyfingers. I'm going to do a layer around the edges, and then you want to fill in the bottom of the pan as well. Use your little bits and pieces that have broken off and just kind of push them into the cracks so that the entire bottom of your pan is covered as best you can. Chocolate is melting beautifully, and then it'll be time to start beating in the egg yolks one at a time, very gently and very carefully. You don't want to cook your egg yolks in this hot mixture, but you also don't want a cake with raw egg yolk in it either. Remember, your bowl is hot because it's been on the double boiler, but you want to start incorporating your egg yolks one at a time, fairly quickly. You don't want them to curdle, and you want to keep beating it until it's nice and glossy. You can see how beautifully glossy our chocolate mixture has become with the incorporation of the egg yolks. So for safety purposes, they are cooked at this point because this was a very hot mixture. And now I'm going to add our 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of vanilla and continue to mix it. The egg whites are forming lovely peaks. The cream of tartar is an acid that's added to the egg whites to stabilize the egg whites and help hold its stiff peaks. Whipped cream to nice peaks. You can't over whip your cream or else you'll turn it to butter. Add your 1/4 of a cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla and mix together. Perfect. The first step is half of your egg whites. Remember your folding technique. Down, over, down, over, down, over. You want to keep the egg whites as inflated as possible, yet incorporating the egg whites into this very thick chocolate mix. Now it's time to fold in about half of our whipped cream mixture. Same motion, down, over, down, over. Now it's just a matter of pouring this beautiful chocolate mixture into your pan on top of the ladyfingers. If you want to make 2 layers, you can, but I'm just going to make this 1 layer of ladyfingers and 1 layer of chocolate. You'll finish off this beautiful icebox cake with your remaining whipped cream, and you'll put it in the refrigerator, and it needs to be refrigerated for at least 6 hours. Overnight is even better. Time to go into the refrigerator. I'm going to leave this one in overnight. Our beautiful cake has been in the refrigerator overnight, covered in plastic. I'm going to remove the plastic now. And before I take it out of the pan, I'm going to just dust it lightly with a little cocoa powder just to finish off the top. You release your pan by just sliding and gently lifting off. This chocolate icebox cake is a family recipe that is always extra special. My father's birthday was November 27th, and because it fell around Thanksgiving, this dessert became our family's favorite Thanksgiving Day dessert and something we always look forward to.